Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about ALGORAND. We provided an update on ALGORAND a whole 8 months ago. That was actually the most viewed video I've ever had on this channel with over 3,000 views. It might not seem a lot to many people, but it was the most viewed video on the channel in which I was explaining why I thought ALGORAND was going to head down to 5 cents. That was back in February when we was trading at around 16 cents. You can see there people again got really bullish in that month as we was to retrace back to the upside, but it just ended up being a little bit of a wick to the upside, and you can see since then we've actually come all the way down to about 8 cents. And what I want to do is just discuss some lower time frame analysis on ALGORAND and what I'm seeing, because as we are now edging towards those targets of 5 cents, I want to really discuss in depth some lower time frame analysis and what we can be expecting and how we can benefit from the move if we do get that 5 cents region to be hit for ALGORAND, because a lot of people have lost interest in this coin at the minute, and as you know, as people lose interest in a coin, people start to deviate towards other coins that are really high in the market, and then people's focus tends to switch from one coin to another. And if you allow yourself to do that in the market, you're going to get wrecked, because if you're buying high and selling low and not looking for the coins that we've been analyzing for months on end, analyzing these coins, waiting for these lower targets to hit, as we now approach those lower targets, a lot of people are disinterested in the market. So that is why it makes me a little bit more bullish on ALGORAND than I was up at 16 to 20 cents back in February. So obviously we've dropped quite a bit in the market, over about 50, 60, 70% there. So as our attention turns now to the downside and the lower time frame, just want to discuss some in-depth plans to what I'm going to be doing for ALGORAND. So guys, if you like the video, of course, give it a like, any comments, subscriptions, always appreciated. Let's get straight into the analysis. And as you can see, guys, that was the video that we made 8 months ago. It was back in December. My apologies, it was not February, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. We're still trading a lot higher than we are right now for ALGORAND, over 100% to the upside. So this title was ALGORAND to 5 cents for a 2,000% move, and we compared it directly to Cardano. I'm not going to play any of this video. If you do want to go back and watch it, just go to my channel, or I will link it in the description below. That was the highest amount of views I've had on this channel, so quite a good video, to be fair. If you go and watch it and watch the explanations as to why I thought ALGORAND was going to potentially head down to these lower levels at around 5 cents. But yeah, I'll leave that to you. That just was to reiterate that what we'd been watching was a move down, a correction in the market, an ABC correction with more downside, and looking for this final push to the downside, which is, if we head back into the charts, this is what we're looking like in the current time period, with that ABC correction to the upside that we discussed. And we was trading around here, where's December, around these levels, about 20 cents, 16 cents for ALGORAND in December, really looking for them pushes to the downside. So what I want to do is just focus in now a bit more on the lower time frame to see what we can analyze and how we can potentially get some confluence with that 5 cents level. And one thing that I like to do, especially with a chart like this that's got so much price action, is just change it to the logarithmic chart, and we'll keep it on the weekly time frame just so we can get some good confluence for the lower time frame analysis that we're doing. But yeah, we'll change it to the log chart and see how the market is looking at the minute for ALGORAND. So if we just take a nice zoomed out perspective here, you can see somewhat of a nice descending triangular structure. If we just take the upper wicks and just draw a correcting structure to the downside with the lower time frame wicks there, you can see where ALGORAND is at the minute. We have got a descending structure that seems to possibly have broken out. We can manipulate this trend line a little bit more to see where some lower downside targets can potentially take us. And you can see in this descending structure, one thing we need to focus on is, how is ALGORAND moving? Are we showing any strength? Are we showing any weakness at the minute? And you can see with these two wicks to the downside, 1, 2, we are showing strength. We're showing that buyers are stepping in at this level. It doesn't mean that we have to bottom at this level for ALGORAND, because often when we see big wicks like this, we'll come in and get filled, because big wicks like this induce a lot of longs to enter the market, where we just come down and take them and take them. Usually it's 1, 2 or 3 or 4 times that we have to take these wicks before we can actually bottom, because this embeds the psychology into traders' minds that, you know, we're going to take these wicks once, twice. If we drop again, people will be thinking, oh, I'm not going to long this time, we're just going to take the wick again. And then that is when you'll get the big bounce. People will enter to these big long again, these big bearish breakdown levels, and then we'll go in, retest that level. So it is going to be a long process, I think, here for Algorand. So I'm not trying to make some analysis here saying, oh, we're going to go to the moon straight away. I still think we are in for a bit of a long process, but of course, as we look at the lower time frame structures, the wicks to the downside showing a little bit of strength right now doesn't mean we have to bottom. Could potentially be in for another at least 40-50% crash to that 5 cent level that we've been outlining for nearly a year now. So what we need to do is just find some more confluence, more Fibonacci analysis on the lower time frame to see where and when we can have some zones to enter for Algorand and where we can potentially exit in the future. So the first thing I want to say is that I don't think now is the worst time to be DCAing into the market, because if you've been able to be patient in the market and ignore all of these pumps to the upside and wait for this real capitulation with a little bit of strength in the market to be shown, I don't think it's the worst place to be accumulating in the market, because you can see if we was to have a massive range for Algorand here, low to high, we've come below the range. Could it easily be a nice deviation, get back in the range and come and close these big bearish candles? Absolutely. But realistically, if we are going to focus on them 5 cent levels that we've been focusing on for nearly a year now, we need to just analyze where and when we can be entering the market and how this can happen and how we can benefit from it. So what I want to do is just draw a wick to wick trend line here, which, if the price is to come back down to these levels, the third test of this trend line, everyone's going to have it drawn, so we are likely going to go below the trend line, which could easily give a little retest, manipulate even further and get to that 5 cent level. Everyone is calling for the death to Algorand, saying, I don't see any hope in Algorand right now. We hit that 5 cent level, then we get at least a nice retrace in the market, come back above, deviate, and send it to higher levels that we are expecting for Algorand. So draw that wick to wick trend line on your chart, not because we need to enter at the trend line, but just so we know where people's liquidations are going to be, because trend lines induce longs and shorts, just like wicks induce longs and shorts. So if we can have that on our charts, we know people are going to have that drawn. If we go below, we know not to panic, because we know that this is anticipated well in advance, dropping down to our 5 cent level, and then we can potentially be waiting to pounce on the market. And another thing we can do is just draw a trend line, Fibonacci from the current high to low. You can see that the negative 27% comes in at around 6.5 cents. So could we bottom at around 6.5 cents? Absolutely. And the negative 61.8% comes in at around just around the middle of the 4 cent region. So we need to have a nice big zone drawn on our chart, in my opinion, for Algorand at this level. So we can potentially be DCAing into the market, as everyone is expecting Algorand to just absolutely capitulate towards those zero levels in the market. Because we know their mass capitulation moves in the market offer the best opportunities for bounce backs and major opportunities to enter the market and exit the market and retraces, as seen with March 2020 here for Algorand. Mass capitulation, massive drop in a short period of time, only to go and send it in a nice 5-wave move to the upside, which a lot of people saw as an impulse, saying that this low could not be broken. If you go to my last video and see that a couple of comments said, if I'm calling this an impulse, then we can't go and break this low, which is completely false. Impulses can easily be C waves to the upside. It doesn't have to be a nice 5-wave impulse where we don't break this low, which is one of the points that I made in the last video. We can easily break 5-wave impulse lows. It just means that the impulse was a corrective wave to the upside, which begs the question, if this is a corrective wave to the upside for Algorand right here, then what is all of this that we're seeing? And if that is a 5-wave move, can we make any sense of this wave to the downside? And if we do count that as 5, or even if we count it as 3 and 3 to the downside, we'd be expecting a major 5-wave move for Algorand to the upside pretty soon, whether we've got a 535 or a 335. It doesn't matter too much. But one thing that I want to make note of here is, if we do count this as 3 waves to the upside, and then we count all of this as 335 to the downside with mass capitulation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's exceptionally badly drawn, but you get the idea. Then we can just pull a trend-based Fibonacci from the high to the low of A, B, C. and look at where that 3.618 level comes in at. We are looking at around the 7 cents region, so we can have another zone here on the 3.618 down at around the negative 12% there at about 7 cents for Algorand. So I do think 7 cents would be a nice zone to start dollar cost averaging into the market, and then really looking for them 4 to 5 cent capitulative moves to be able to benefit from them major bounce backs in the market. Of course, it's not financial advice, but this is just what I'm seeing in the market, because Algorand tends to do this: mass capitulation, big opportunities, big green candles are for selling, big red candles to the downside for buying. So I do think when we're looking at Algorand here, this could just be our left shoulder in terms of mass capitulation, going for the head, right shoulder, and then looking for them higher time frame moves to the upside back to the 1.618. Really looking for them big bearish candles to come and get filled at the 1.618, about 60 cents region here for Algorand. So if we was to drop down to that 5 cents level and have a look at that mass capitulation, big gain to the upside, we're talking at least a 1000% gain there. So just taking all of that off the chart, psychologically, people do not want to be talking about this coin. No one's talking about it. No one's making any YouTube videos on it. Everyone's talking about the new coins that are already up thousands of percent. I've seen it happen so many times in the market. People chase the big green candles. Everyone wants to buy these. No one wants to buy in the descending structures to the downside when we get mass capitulation. It's always the same. Seen it so many times. It'll happen again. It'll continue to happen because it is human psychology, and that is how the market works. So guys, I think the point to be made here is, if you haven't been drawn in and buying these big pumps to the upside as we've been correcting all the way to the downside, you know, people's psychology, think about it, all of these pumps that have been bought and just drowned out, pumps again, wicks, sign of strength here, but potentially we even go and take them stop losses once again. Mass capitulation that we've been looking for, that 5 cents region, coming in at around October, November time. If we was to draw this trend line to the downside, that gives us a bit of a date. October, November, even December, come in, mass capitulation, big bounce to the upside. We've been watching it for nearly a year now, so it's not something that we're talking about just because we've seen these big candles to the downside. We need to analyze, we need to stay focused on the charts that have been offering opportunities. So many opportunities have been offered in Algorand in the past, and another opportunity will once again come, probably with a narrative, but you know, we just need to stay stable, keep psychologically, emotionally free in the market, and buy at the zones that we said we're going to, and sell on the pumps to the upside as everyone gets excited. So guys, of course, once again, it's not financial advice. I hope you've been able to benefit from this style of analysis using Fibonacci, psychology, a bit of Elliott wave, off the cusp analysis, really just trying to show to you why we make these videos, how we do it, and what the goal is, because it's not just to be a bear or a bull. The goal here is to make money. We're not here to shill stupid 1,000 market cap coins that have got 1 million, 2 million in there and get paid by a company to go and shill these coins. No, these are real projects. These are real coins that have been out for so many years now. We've just been outlining when we think the opportunities are going to come around, and now the opportunity is starting to present itself. Maybe not quite yet, maybe it is quite now. We'll never know, but when the pump comes, people will want to buy and we will be taking profit. So guys, sit back, relax, let the market do the work, and let the market come to you. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.